All right, kids, we're going to move into our next part of our angles lessons, okay? So the next thing that we need to learn within angles are the relationships of angles. So angle relationships is what we're going to call this lesson today. Angle relationships. Not like boyfriend, girlfriend, 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 boyfriend, boyfriend stuff. Just how they can relate to one another. Relate relationships. That means how you can compare them, contrast them, and use them to give you some information on math. EQ. Okay. Describe the 4 different angle relationships. That's not really a question. Sorry. Relationships. You learned today. Sorry, that's not really an essential question, but it really, you just need to be able to describe them. So describe the 4 different relationships you learned today. Okay. All right, let's get started. Relationships. It looks like I just have the word hips here. Okay. So there's lots of different angle relationships. So I'm going to teach you 4 different ones that you'll need to kind of know to be successful in this unit. The first one is called complementary. Okay. Not like, oh, you have pretty hair, or oh, you're really smart. Not like that. But complementary angles are angles that add to make 90 degrees. It's literally that simple. So it's any 2 angles that when added together make our right angle, make a 90-degree angle. It's literally that simple. So if I gave you the number 30 degrees angles, complement is 60 degrees because 90 take away 30 is 60 degrees. If I gave you 89's complementary angle, I would take 90 and subtract 89. I get 1 degree. These are complements of each other. So all complementary angles do are add to make 90. That's it. Now, my math teacher taught me in high school to do this little trick. When you spell complementary, ... okay? Watch how I take this C, I just draw a line through it, and I just made a hidden 90. 90. Complementary angles are angles that add to make 90. So if they say find the complement of 40, you'd say 50. 50s, it's complementary angle because 40 plus 50 makes 90. Okay, let's move on. The next different type of angle relationships are called supplementary. Not like with sup, y'all. Supplementary angles. Supplementary angles are angles that add to make 180. Add to make 180 degrees. That's it. So let's do the 30 one. 30's supplementary angle. If I took 180, subtracted 30, I get 150. So 150 and 30 are supplementary of each other. They supplement each other to make it to 180. If I took 89's supplementary angle. If I take 180, take away 89, I need to regroup. Make that 1, make the regroup. 17 minus 8 is 91. It would be 91 degrees. That's it. Just angles that add to make it. Now, just like my math teacher taught me a cool supplementary or complementary one, the supplementary one, S-U-P-P ... he showed me to do this. It's kind of a stretch, but you know, math teachers always try to find weird ways to make kids remember things. I make that into an O, I make that into an 8, and then I add a 1, and you have a hidden 180. Kind of silly, but it's on tests, it's going to be hard for you to remember which one's which, and so this kind of gives you a small trick. Okay? All right, other types of relationships. This one I'm going to build a big diagram because it's kind of hard to, this one's a little more difficult than these. These ones are a little like, oh, okay, they add whatever 2 numbers add to make 90, whatever 2 numbers add to make 180. These are called vertical and adjacent. Not like Jason Clemens, adjacent into our problem. No, just kidding. Vertical and adjacent angles. Okay. So I'm going to draw a diagram because I think that's what's going to be best for us to get this one. Okay. Okay. So in this little demonstration we got going on, there are 4 different angles present. And I'm going to number them just because it makes things easier. There's no order it has to be in. Just going to number it to make it easier. Now, I want to make these lines really thick so that way it's not in any way confusing what's what, okay? Oh, I just made that even worse. Okay. Okay. We're going to just call this angle 1, angle 2, angle 3, and angle 4. Again, there's no reason. It could have been any numbers, it could have been letters, it could have been anything. Okay. What adjacent angles are so adjacent are angles that share a vertex and ray. I'm going to underline the vertex and ray part. Okay, angles that share a vertex or ray. So let's use our highlighter. So let's think of all the different adjacent angles. So this right here, okay, is shared by 3 and 4. So 3 and 4, that's an and sign. 3 and 4 are adjacent angles. Let's see another one. Okay, I need to take some color in the lines, help. 1 and 4 share a vertex and share a ray. So another pair is 1 and 4. So put a big comma between that. What shares a ray here? This shares this ray. Angles 1 and 2 touch and they share a ray. 1 and 2. And I know some of you are already skipping ahead and you can see the next pair. Okay. Boo, organ duck colors. And also these share array, 2 and 3 touch, they share this. So 2 and 3. So these are examples. 3 and 4 shared this ray right here. They were just touching on opposite sides of like the fence. Think of like your neighbor's adjacent to where you live. Your neighbor shares your fence. 3 and 4 share that ray. 1 and 4 share this fence. 1 and 4 are adjacent angles. 1 and 2 share this fence. They are adjacent angles. And numbers 2 and 3 share this fence. They are adjacent angles. So that's what adjacent angles are. They are angles that just share a ray. They're ones that touch, that they're right next to each other. They share that fence, like your adjacent neighbor in your neighborhood. Okay, so that's adjacent. Now we're going to learn about what vertical angles are. And then we're going to talk about relationships that we see, like, what do you notice about 3 and 4? What do you notice about 1 and 4? What do you notice about 1 and 2? What do you notice about 2 and 3? I want you to think about that while we do the next part, okay? Vertical angles are angles that, we're going to pause one second. I want to make sure I get the exact technical term for this. Okay, so vertical angles are angles that share this vertex, but they're on opposite sides of 2 intersecting lines. Okay, vertical, like if I was to jump to 3, I'd get to 1. If I was standing up and down, I'd jump from 4 to get to 2. So in this case, ones that are on opposite sides, okay, so we share this vertex, we're on opposite sides of 2 lines, okay, we'd have 1 and 3. And we'd also have 2 and 4. That's it. Oh, I'm sorry, I never finished the sentence. Angles that share a vertex, but are on opposite sides of two intersecting lines. Intersecting angles, or I'm sorry, two intersecting lines / rays. Okay, so 1 and 3. 1 and 3 right here. Right now, 1 and 3 are angles that share a vertex, but they're on opposite sides of the two lines. 2 and 4 share a vertex, but they're on opposite sides of the two lines, which means they're vertical. Okay, so let's look back here. Adjacent angles share a vertex and a side, so 1 and 2 share a side, 2 and 3 share a side, 3 and 4 share a side, 4 and 1 share a side. Those are called adjacent because they share a side. But if they're on opposite sides of the two intersecting lines, we call them, vertical. 4 and 2, 1 and 3. Okay, so this is just that's a couple ways to classify things. So if they ask you on a homework or a test, well, what is one's vertical angle, you would say, okay, one's vertical angle is 3. If they said what is an adjacent angle for 1, you have 2 options. You could say an adjacent angle for 1 is 2 because they share this ray, or you could say an adjacent angle for 1 is 4 because they share this ray. So it's just different ways to look at angles and how they relate to one another, okay? All right, we'll go on to the next thing.